Hey, welcome back, Salt Yackers. We appreciate you. Here's what we're doing today. This is a quick video. It's a two-parter. I had a lot of people ask me, how do you set up a bait caster for fishing saltwater? That's the first question. The second question is, how do I better cast a bait caster? So we're going to take this in two pieces. First, I want to talk about how we set it up. This reel in particular, I want to share it with you. I really like this reel, and I'm going to tell you this is a budget reel. It is not expensive, okay? This is from Bass Pro Shop, and it is their offshore angler brand, and the particular model is called their Inshore Extreme. So it's an offshore angler inshore extreme. That's a mouthful. It's a cheap reel. It really is a cheap reel in terms of, you know, quality equipment. It's inexpensive. I think it's about $100. Here's what it looks like on Bass Pro's website, so you can find it for yourself there. Now, the way I have set mine up, you'll see I have spooled mine with 15-pound braid. This is Power Pro in, used to be moss green, she's a little faded now, in 15-pound. So I'll spool it that way. I've got it just on any spinning, or excuse me, any bait casting rod will be just fine. Then it's very important when you're fishing that braid in saltwater, especially where we are with our super clear water, it's very important, whoa, come back here, that you use a leader. This is a, I believe that's a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I used a little heavier there because I was fishing snook yesterday, and look, you can even see where the snook have frayed it up a bit, because I did catch one nice fish on it. And that's a very simple setup. So that's really all you need, guys. It's not an expensive reel. It's not an expensive rod. The braid is, you know, not terribly expensive, and get you some leader and you're ready to go. So that's question one. Question two, and by the way, I should tell you, let me back up. I've had this reel for a couple years now, and I've used it quite a lot, and it's held up really well. If you're gonna use a bait caster in saltwater, what I want you to know is the most important part about that is that the bearings have to be sealed. Most bait casters that you bass guys probably have, the bearings are not sealed, and a little bit of salt water gets in there, they're done, they're toast. So make sure you got sealed bearings. This one does, and for that price, that's awesome. Okay, now the second part of this is how to cast a bait caster, because how many times, guys, when you first start throwing a bait caster, do you have a terrible bird's nest and you're like, that's it, I'm done, I hate bait casters, they're terrible? They're not terrible, they're awesome. You just got to figure out the secret. And guys, the secret's super easy. It's all about how you set the settings on this guy before you start casting. There's only 2 steps to it. Pay close attention here. They're super easy. I want you to look at your reel. You have 2 controls. On this side where your crank handle is, at least on mine because it's a right hand retrieve, see that knob right there? That's your spool speed control. That determines how fast this spool is allowed to spin, okay? On the other side, you see this knob right here? That is your magnetic brakes, and that will stop the spool from spinning, and that's adjustable. On this particular reel, it shows from 1 to 10. So here's what I'm going to show you. This is how you set up. You pick out your bait that you want to throw. In this instance, we're throwing a 3-inch paddle tail, okay, on a 3/16 ounce jig head. This is a light bait. Okay, so the first thing you do is we have to set that spool speed control. And the way we do that, based on the lure that you have, we're going to push that, we're going to open the reel, right? We're going to push the button, and we're going to take our thumb off the spool. And you'll notice my bait's not dropping, it's not moving, it's just sitting there. We want that bait to slowly drop all by itself with only gravity pulling on it. So I'm going to bring this reel in here where you can see it now. And again, it's open, so I'm going to hold that spool with my thumb for a second, and I'm going to loosen the speed tensioner. Whoa, see that? Now see how it falls on its own? That's actually a little too fast. That's actually a little too fast that it was spinning. So I'm going to tighten it up a tiny bit. I'm going to push that button. Get the leader out of the rod. Okay. I'm going to open the bail, and there she goes, spinning too fast with just gravity. So tighten it up a tiny bit. Loosen it up. There it is. See that? How it just barely drops on its own. Watch the spool there. As I open it, it's going to just barely slowly turn. That's what we want. Okay, so that's step one. Spool speed is adjusted. Step two is now we have to adjust the magnetic brake. Here's my suggestion for you. When you tie on a lure and you set this, let's start by maxing that brake out. This one goes from 1 to 10, if you can see that. I'm going to put it all the way on 10. Now, spool speed's correct. Brake is maxed out. Watch this. I'm going to come over here to cast this thing. I'm going to sling it hard, and when I do, come in here. Look, guys, no bird's nest, right? And I slung it hard. Now, it didn't go very far. It only casted maybe, 40, 50 feet, I'll bet. Try it one more time to be sure. I'm going to sling it hard. I do touch that spool. As soon as the bait touches the water, I touch the spool to stop it. And okay, now we got it casting without making a bird's nest, right? But now we got to get some distance on this dude, and here's how we're going to do it. Now we're going to start backing down on that brake. Instead of 10, I'm going to bring it down to about a 7 now, if you can see there. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cast it again. I'm going to sling it hard again. Look at that. Probably 75 feet that time, a lot further. I'm going to bring it in again. And remember, guys, when that bait hits the water, just give the spool a quick tap with your thumb to stop it. You're just assisting the brake a little bit, and that'll help ensure your nice casting. All right, we're at a 7. Now I'm going to bring it all the way down to about a 4. I'm not going to go any lower than 4 because you might be able to tell we got a little wind blowing right now. It's probably 10, 12 miles an hour. It's blowing right in our face, and that's a recipe for disaster when it comes to backlashing a bait caster. But let's see. Sling it hard. Look at that. It's probably 100 feet out there that time. So that's how you cast a bait caster. Now, anytime you change your lure, and your lure is a different size or a different weight, you have to do that again. Set your spool speed, max out your brake, couple casts, start backing down that brake. Once you're comfortable, back down the brake more and more and more as you get confidence, and you'll be able to throw it further and further. Guys, I hope this has been helpful to you. Get out there, get you a bait caster, learn to fish with it. You'll have a good time, but above all, get up off that couch and get out there and have some fun today, because at the end of the day, life is short, and if you don't go, you don't know. Here we go.